Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Ritzik, and I'm going to be teaching this criminal justice writing class. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, this is the 22nd year that I've been at WCCC. I started here part-time, and I've been here full-time since 1992. I teach a variety of different writing courses, although one of my favorites is this criminal justice writing course. And I have this in class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 o'clock. And, if you ever wanted to come to the in-class version, you are certainly more than welcome. These online courses are actually quite good. There are some benefits to it. One of the key benefits, in my opinion, about taking an online course is it makes you a better reader, and it also helps you phrasing and asking more accurate questions. Because, when I get email from you or if I have questions, it helps you to be more specific about what your question is, and then I can respond more accurately. I wanted to talk a bit about writing email, okay? And just basically to give you some tips and some suggestions. Of course, when you send me an email, my email address is hricikm@wccc.edu. Now, in the subject line, you can put your first and last name. So if it was like David Williams, and then you'll put the class, which is English 168 WA, and then you can also put what the topic is that you're sending, if it's like quiz one or assignments on news articles or whatnot. But you can do that. And then when you start the email, you can say, Dear Mr. Ritzik, comma, and then in the email, in the first sentence or so, tell me what you are writing about. So I'm sending quiz one, or I am completing my assignment on newspaper articles. And so, you can tell me what you're sending, and then you can comment on it. And then the last thing that you should do is ask for a date for feedback. So please respond by. And so for example, for Friday, August 30th, if you send something to me, then you can say, please respond by Friday, September 6th. So you give me a week to respond, and then you have thank you, comma, or sincerely, comma, and then, your name. So that's the good way to write email. And as I said, I teach, well, I have 7 different classes, and so it helps me to know specifically who the student is that I'm getting information from. And I definitely like to see who it is and then what the topic is, because on some days, I might get 50 emails. And so I scan down through them and then I can see more specifically. I wanted to tell you something else with your email. If you notice, there is a red exclamation point. It says high importance. Now, if you have something that's really, really important that you need me to look at right away, or if you have a problem or an issue, you can click on that, and then that red exclamation point will come up in my document. And then the other thing that you can do, and I'm going to have to go to the I'm going to have to go to the other. I'm looking at it through the WCCC Outlook, my email program, but I'm going to look at it through the web browser. And the one thing that I wanted to tell you is, yeah, here it is in your email program under options. If you click on that, you can also request a delivery receipt and request a read receipt. So in this particular class, I'll respond quickly. But if you want to send something to someone and you want to make sure that they have in fact received it, and then when they actually read it and opened it, then that's a good practice to get into. The other point that I want you to do through your email is click on options. Okay, I'm going to have you create an email signature block. And then you're going to say see all options, and then that will take you into settings. Click on settings, and it'll say email signature. So you're going to create your own email signature block. I also want you to click where there's a checkbox that says automatically include my signature on messages I send. Check that. And also always show BCC. BCC is blind carbon copy. So if you ever wanted to send an email to another person for their information and you didn't want the other people to know who it was, that's what blind carbon copy means. Under your email signature, put your first and last name, put your major, and then the next thing that you can put is WCCC, and then the address is 145 Pavilion, Pavilion Lane, Youngwood, PA 15697. Next, then you would put in your cell phone number. So if I were to contact you and I needed to get in touch with you more quickly, I could text you or phone you on your cell phone. And then the last two things that you should do is put your WCCC email address there and then an alternate email. So if I needed to get in touch with you, I have another way to contact you. So then at the very bottom, you click Save at the screen. And then the other point that I want you to do in your email, and hopefully your email system is the same as mine in terms of the layout. Under spelling, you want to always spell check before sending. So, those types of things are, really, really helpful. Something that I would encourage you to do when you send email is obviously make sure that you proofread it. But if it's a very, very important email, I actually type them first in Word, and then I look at them, and then I copy and paste them and put them into the email. I'm not saying that you should do that all the time, but if you're writing a very important email to like your boss, or if you're following up on some situation and you have to contact a psychiatrist, or if you have to contact an attorney or whomever, it helps to be able to do that. And in the summer class, I had students that would send email and they would have the wrong word in the context. And I'll give you a very good example. The person wrote in the email, says, "I defiantly agree." Defiantly agree is different than definitely agree. Defiantly means that you are in opposition to something, and that's not the correct way to say it. You want to say definitely. And there were others that people sent. Sometimes, like I said, if you put the wrong word in the context, it might change the meaning of the email. So I just, like I said, with an online class, it's really important to write very specific, accurate email. Okay, the book that we're going to be using for this class is called Just the Facts, Investigative Report Writing, and we'll use all 10 chapters of it. If you don't want to, well, actually, with the quizzes for this particular class, you can just email me the answers to the questions. And with exercises, you can do the same thing. Or if you just want to write out the exercises and then scan them into your printer, that's fine. You can do that. So I just wanted to mention that to you as an option. The other point that I wanted to tell you about a little bit today is criminal justice students. And, you do have many, many options. Most people think, well, I can work with the state police. I become a municipal police officer. But the field is very, very broad and very, very vast these days. In criminal justice, obviously, you can become a crime scene analyst. Tim Sethman, one of our former students, works for Westmoreland County as a latent fingerprint analyst and also an evidence specialist, and that's what he does specifically. We have some of our students that get into criminal crime, criminal forensics, but computer forensics, and so there's that element of it. So it's a pretty broad program as far as criminal justice. And then some students these days also will get into Homeland Security. which is another option as far as you can go into. So, your options are pretty broad as a whole. Taking this criminal justice writing class is very helpful in my opinion. If you can take effective speech, which is speech 155, if you can take speech 156, which is interpersonal communication, that course is really helpful. Most of you will take a psychology course. If you can take more psychology courses, that certainly helps. That's beneficial. Computer classes, everybody has to take CPT 150 microcomputer concepts, but if you can take additional courses, that's extremely beneficial. And then if you move from southwestern Pennsylvania and go to another location, so like if you go out west to Arizona or Florida or whatever, or not Florida, not Florida South, if you go out west to Arizona or Texas or California or one of those places, knowing Spanish is extremely valuable. That makes a big, big difference. A friend of mine is in law enforcement in Florida, and that's what he said. Knowing Spanish there is invaluable. You speak to so many Spanish-speaking people that makes a difference. So those would be some suggestions that I have for you. Now, in terms of the class, I'm just going to go through the syllabus a little bit. For next Friday, and that would be August 30th, you need to read 2 articles from the local newspaper about a crime or criminal incident and indicate what questions you feel the article didn't answer and state why you believe certain questions could not be answered, okay? And if you want to go into Blackboard and assignments and take a look at the one assignment there, you will see, let's see, I have 2 of these classes. I was looking at the in-class one, but this online one, under assignments, if you go on that, yeah, here it is. Dear Mr. Ritzik, here is the first article I read, and then here are a couple questions the questions that I have. So she listed 3 questions. Now here are a few questions I would have asked, and the same thing with the other. So you need to choose 2 different articles and then indicate, what questions you would ask and then what questions the article didn't really address. You're going to be getting this video on Friday, the 23rd of August, and I just wanted to point to an article that I am aware of that was in the Tribune Review today that would be a really good article to do. The first one that I just saw, gunman robs Latrobe Bank during Banana Split Festival, which is probably a good time to rob it when everybody else is distracted. But there was an article from, and I believe this was in Allegheny County, but I just read the article on the front page of the Tribune Review, and what it was a man who was fired from his job, and he basically ended up shooting 2 members of his family and killing them, and then he injured 2 others. So I'm not seeing it right now as I look through the website, but that was an article was on the front page today. And as I said, if you look through the Tribune Review, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, or whatnot, you can look at some articles that for that particular assignment. So that's pretty clear. And like I said, with the quiz, you can email that to me, and then you can see for the next week that I'm going to have you watch the show, the first 48, and then from your, you can take some notes, and you really need to focus on just one of the episodes, and you summarize the interviewing techniques that were used, that were effective and ineffective, and review both the cases that you watched. Also note the key traits that the detectives have that make them successful, so you can focus on 2 people total. So you don't necessarily have to look at both of the cases that they did. If you just wanted to look at one of the episodes or one of the parts, and then the detectives from that particular part, you could, but it's on A&E on Thursday nights, and of course you can watch it on YouTube. And then the other thing to do is you need to draw 5 conclusions from this data under the week of September the 2nd. And, it's about officers killed in the line of duty in 2012. And then that's all I really wanted to talk about today. But, you can see that we do go through all 10 chapters of the book. And then we do various other assignments in this particular class. I did also wanted to tell you about a couple of the main assignments that we do. One of the assignments that I have you do is I have you read an article, and it was from an FBI publication on being deceptive, and how what people do, when they're lying. And in that particular article, I'll have you summarize in 3 different ways: a longer summary, a shorter summary, and then like a visual where you do sort of a cluster, or you can do a basic outline or whatnot. But I'm going to have you present the same information in 3 different ways. I also, later in the semester, I have you do an investigative type report, look at a problem within your community or within your high school or at a place where you currently work or have worked, a dangerous roadway or intersection near your home, anything like that. But that's kind of really what it is. And so you're looking at what the problem is and then what your suggestions or solutions are. I had a student in this class that was a former executive chef at a restaurant, and he said you would be surprised the number of people in the culinary arts field that are into drugs and alcohol and have a felony record. And he said, it's a big issue, and even the number of people that come to work drunk or the number of people that drink at work. But he wrote about that particular issue. I was surprised, quite honestly. Somebody in this class wrote about the amount of crime in New Stanton, especially drugs and robberies and theft and so on. So that was what she had looked at. And like I said, there's people that do a variety of different topics, but that's one of the main ones that, we focus on throughout this class. So you'll find this class to be pretty good, and you'll gain some helpful information from it. The one other area that I wanted to mention to you today, to make sure that you consider this, if you're going to go ahead and be in any law enforcement field, particularly that we have a municipal police officers academy here at WCCC, and you can go full-time or part-time. IUP has one, and other colleges do in the same. But the point that the former coordinator, director of the program, Bob Martin, used to tell me and students that were in class that we would go over to listen to the presentation that he did is one of the biggest problems that people have is they're not in good physical shape. And so, if you want to get into law enforcement, you need to start to prepare, to run, lift weights, or to get into decent physical condition, because that's important. And I had a student in this class that worked for not the Drug Enforcement Agency. He worked for the Federal Marshals, and he said that the test that they have to go through a pretty extensive training program through them. But he said it's like something you have to carry a person of, like a dummy of 200 pounds, so many feet or so many yards. You have to be able to run a certain amount and a certain speed. He said it's like really, really demanding. And the same thing with the state police. So you really should consider that. And, what you really want to be careful of in these next couple of years, is because you're going to have to go through Act 33 and Act 34 clearances. Whatever you do not get a DUI, because that's going to be a factor that will affect you for the rest of your career. But the other thing that you really need to be aware of, most of all, is what you post on social media. So be careful what you put on Facebook. If you post anything, have things that are PG rated or less. There was a police chief. I think it was in Sudlersville. It was in Somerset County, but he had a picture. I believe he was holding two machine guns, and there was a woman standing next to him that had very little clothing on. She might have had a bikini on or something, but it was a picture that was not fitting for someone in law enforcement, and so he got suspended for a time. So these days, more often, what happens when you go in and apply for a position, they want to look at your social media or they will check you out, and so be aware of that. Also, tone down your greeting on your phone. Don't have a greeting on your phone like with profanity or anything, like that. So just be careful on how you present yourself. And I can tell you, when you are in law enforcement, people are going to be watching you, and you just have to be cautious. And just as an example of that, Detective Tom Moran, who comes into our class and speaks, he was involved in a case with a magistrate that was down in North Huntington, and his name was Ray Tubbs, and he was fixing tickets for people, and there were some police officers there that were, and essentially Ray Tubbs went to jail, and the police officers got in trouble, and Tom had to investigate them and press charges against them, and so he said they were looking on anything that he had done that was problematic, and they could not find anything. So, your behavior is going to be looked at and examined. So, you don't have to be a choir boy or whatever, or anything like that. But you just have to use good sense in how you portray yourself in public, and then how you portray yourself in social media, and so on. The only other point that I wanted to tell you too, when I have this class, um, we go up to the magistrate here behind the college and to see Magistrate Jim Falcon. And he always tells students all the time, be polite and be prepared when you come to my court. But he also said, when you deal with people, treat them respectfully, because he said, sometimes people will come to his court and say, I'm not objecting to the ticket that I received, but I'm objecting to the type of behavior that was exhibited and how disrespectful this police officer was to me. So, be professional in your duties. You are going to have to give tickets, you are going to have to arrest people, but be professional. And I think that's the best way to go. So, anyhow, I'd like to give you an overview on some things to be aware of for this class. Thanks.